Hey guys, so today I thought we'd just hang out, eat some food, and chat. If you don't like mukbangs, you probably won't like this video because I'm gonna be eating. I decided to get some Taco Bell, which I'm nervous about because Taco Bell always messes up my stomach. I just couldn't resist because I love their nacho fries. They're like disgustingly delicious. And now they have the nacho fry Bel Grande. I had to just get it. And then I got some of the regular, just like little chips with the nacho cheese. I got some cinnamon twists, Avi. And then I got something that I have been buying since I was in middle school. It is a seasoned beef chalupa, but instead of sour cream, I add nacho cheese. So the theme of this meal is definitely lots of nacho cheese. And the subject I wanted to talk about, I gotta start eating before I talk about. I gotta start eating, okay. Oh my gosh. Honestly. I'm drinking some Mountain Dew. Okay, so this twitch that I had, that I talked about in my day in the life video, at that point I was talking about how I had had it for like 3 weeks, this twitch in my right eye. That was constant. Like, it was not like from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed the whole day, but it was throughout the day, every day for 3 weeks. So it started at like the first week of November. I don't know why I don't get the tomatoes off of this chalupa. So a lot of the things online was like, if you have the twitch longer than 2 weeks, then call your doctor. So I waited 3 weeks because I just felt like it was silly, like it was a twitch. But one day I was FaceTiming my best friend and we were like in the middle of this conversation, and suddenly like I stopped talking and I was just kind of like holding my head and like bracing myself, and she's like,
"What are you doing?"
And I was just like, oh, I just have this really like intense headache. It's only really on the right side of my head. And she's like, isn't that where your twitch is? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, how long have they been going on? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't really like kept track of that because I just thought it was, I didn't think anything of it. But when I started to think, like, yeah, it has been happening for a little while. So it just like, everything made me nervous. So finally I contacted my doctor. And once we spoke on the phone, she's like, okay, yes, come in. I wrote on my phone because I knew I wouldn't remember because I have the memory of a goldfish. No, okay, it is November. November 23rd is when I went in and saw her in person, and she did all these really weird neurological tests on me. Like, I had to like take my mask off for a second and I had to smile, and I had to, this was so weird. I had to stick out my tongue and wiggle it from side to side. She checked like my pupils and my movement, like can I follow her finger. She checked like my peripheral vision. And then she like grabbed this weird like metal thing that like reverberates sound off of it. I think that's the right word. So she would like flick it and then put it to my ear and like tell me when I don't hear it anymore. And she would do that to both sides. I pretty much passed all those tests. She asked me a lot of other questions about like my pain, location, what my twitching feels like. I wasn't having pain in my eye, but I didn't think about the headaches. So the headaches are what concerned her, obviously. So she was thinking that I could be having cluster headaches. At that point, my longest little headache episode was like 20 to 30 seconds. And cluster headaches usually last longer than that. And the other thing she thought, because of the location of my head pain and then obviously my eye, she was thinking that it's something called trigeminal neuralgia. because you have your trigeminal nerves that run across your face. But she was definitely convinced that it was a nerve issue. So she prescribed me gabapentin, which is like to help with nerve pain. So with gabapentin, like I was supposed to take it whenever I was having the headache or the twitch, which felt like a lot. Not the headaches, more or less, but the twitching was happening a lot. We were gonna try that out for a week, and then we were gonna have another phone call appointment. I did end up having one headache during that week, and the twitching was, again, every day, but I was noticing longer gaps where I wasn't twitching. We talked on the phone again, and then she switched my medication because she was more or less convinced that it was trigeminal neuralgia. So she prescribed me a medication that works for that, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it, but it's an anti-seizure medication. So she started me out on the lowest dose, and again, I was gonna go with that for a week, and then we would have another phone call. And it was not like the gabapentin where it was like as needed. It was like every day at night at the same time. The twitching never stopped. And again, I think I had at least one headache. And then she decided to move me up to double the dose. So she wanted me to be on that for 2 weeks. And then we scheduled an appointment for me to meet her again face to face. So obviously this is like well into December that I'm going through all of this, but I wasn't really noticing the headaches. Like I really think I was just having one a week, but I did start noticing with the changes of my medication that my headache pains were changing. Initially, they were towards my front of my forehead, but they started at the base of my like head, and it would kind of shoot up to my forehead, and it felt like an electrical shock. That's what it felt like. Ma'am, this is not the time. They started to change, and at some point it started to feel more like fire, like a hot pain in my forehead. Oh, I forgot to mention, before she switched me to this medication, I had to get my blood drawn because the medication was known to do some damage to like your liver and kidneys. So I had to get like a baseline so that they could compare while I was on the medication. After being on the medication for 2 weeks, I went to see her in person, and Shane came with me this time, which is always really nice because obviously he's a medical professional. He knows a lot of questions that like I just don't know to ask, and he also is kind of like my memory. So he can remember like what is being said and can recall it for me, which would probably be nice in doing this video because I might be missing some things, but I tried to take notes for myself so I could remember. This time when I met her face to face, she did all of those neurological tests again on me. But she also like tested my reflexes, like, you know, where you hit your knee with that little hammer thingy. She goes and hits my right knee, and it doesn't do anything. And she's like, "Are you tense right now?" And I was like, "No." So she makes me like hold my hands like this. And then she's like, "Okay, on 3, pull, like pull against your hands." And I was like, "Okay." So I do that. I pull against my hands, and still my knee doesn't have a reflex. So she moves down to my right ankle, and again, nothing happens. And she's like, "What the heck?" So she moves to my left side, and I do the pulling thing, and my left side reflexes, and so does my left ankle, which she was like, "That's really weird that you don't have a reflex, but it's probably not related to anything you're going through." She had said that if my headaches lasted a little bit longer, that she would have wanted me to come in when I was in the middle of a headache so that they could give me a nerve block in one of the trigeminal nerves to see if the pain would stop, and then they could know for sure, okay, it is trigeminal neuralgia. She just wanted me to go ahead and get an MRI, which she was kind of nervous about because an MRI obviously is like one of the best pictures like that you can get of your insides without cutting you open. It can pick up any little thing, and sometimes if the image does pick up something, it could lead you down a rabbit hole where it could really be nothing. We all felt like it was worth the risk. So she put an order in for me to get an MRI, and then she wanted to have a referral for me to see a neurologist. And then she said like this week, or at that point, that I needed to get another blood draw, so to come in at any time. I went in to get my blood drawn, and then the next day I had my MRI appointment, which was December 31st. I got my MRI. Shane happened to be working the day that I got it, but he was working at the hospital on the other side of town as like a call-in, which was unfortunate because I'm a child and I don't like to go to appointments by myself if I don't have to. So that I was already giving me anxiety that I had to go by myself, and I've never had an MRI. I have that anxiety of like when you've never been to a building and you don't know the layout, like I have anxiety about that. Don't you put your paw in the water. Never experiencing something like an MRI, I had anxiety about that. So I'm like driving and I'm listening to one of my favorite playlists, which is like 90s, 80s alternative rock, like Duran Duran, Police, Nirvana, that kind of stuff. And I'm just like blaring it and singing to every song as I'm driving this hour drive by myself. And I have the navigation on because I have no inner compass. Doesn't matter that I've driven to this place for the last 3 years. I still need navigation just for peace of mind. Every time I look at it and see that my destination time is less and less and like I'm gonna be there soon, and just as the song would die down and I'd have that moment of silence, I would start to cry. Like, I kid you not, I would start to cry. And when I'm in the parking lot, Shane calls me, which I'm thankful for. And he like just calms me down and talks me through it and everything. And like went in, checked in, sat, and I brought a book because I wasn't sure how long I was gonna wait. After like 20 minutes, this really tall guy comes and gets me. He's probably like in his late 40s. Super chipper, like very nice, very professional. He takes me back, shows me this room that has like a couch and a mirror. And at this point, like I was kind of confused about my MRI because the notes said MRI and then it said W and then it said WO contrast. So I was like, is it with contrast or is it without contrast? Like, I don't know, which made me nervous because I'm allergic to iodine, and I've had the unfortunate experience of having to have a contrast procedure to look into my fallopian tubes, and they could only use iodine with that, and it was awful, very, very, very painful. So I asked him about that, and he said that they are doing contrast, but it was a totally different kind of contrast. It was not iodine, but they wanted to have pictures with contrast and without contrast. So I would have to basically do it twice. So he gave me like a gown and some pants, and I had to like take everything off. I could wear my socks though, thankfully, because I don't like being in public places without my socks. That's weird. And he said that, you know, they let you listen to music. So what kind of music do you want to listen to? And because I was just listening to 80s music and it kind of like puts me in a happy mood, that's what I asked for. He says that he's going to do the without contrast first, and that it's going to be about 30 minutes. I lay down on this bed and there's like pads for my elbows and a thing to stick under my knees. Because it's my brain that they're having to scan, I have to go in like waist deep into the machine, and they have to put that like cage thing over my head. Luckily, I'm not claustrophobic, but I do have control issues, especially when it comes to my body. Like, I don't like not being in control of my body. That was the main torture for me, is just being so exposed. No like shade on the guy, like that was my tech. It was just the fact that he was male that was bringing me anxiety as well. And maybe some of you women can understand that kind of anxiety. So I'm just trying to, I don't know, relax as he's like setting it up, and I'm like going into the machine, and he's like putting me in the right place. So I'm like kind of getting jolted around. This is before the machine was turned on. And I have these gigantic earmuffs on. Thankfully, I don't have to wear a mask, because I don't know if I could have done that with a mask on. Then he just kind of lets me know it's gonna be loud, which that's what everyone was telling me. It's gonna be loud, it's gonna be loud. Oh my gosh, does that not prepare you? The only thing that I can compare it to, which thankfully I've never experienced this, is psychological torture. Like I've seen in TV shows where they have a prisoner chained to a chair that's bolted into the ground. They have strobe lights going on in the room, and they have all these different kinds of noises that are just like blaring, that are changing, like, I don't know, just like constantly changing noises that are all at like 11. That is the only thing I can compare it to, because it's not that it was just loud, like extremely loud, and it wasn't the same noise. Like it would be like one noise for a little while, and then it would change, and it was for 30 minutes. Like I really felt like I was being psychologically tortured. Like they have this like mirror thing where it's like a reflective mirror, so that if you looked at the mirror, it was reflecting from another mirror that was pointing like at my knees. I wish that they just like hadn't given me that, because then that also gave me anxiety, that I would like look at the mirror and then there would be someone standing there with my exposed body. Like I just wish that they didn't give me that. But my mom, she would always talk about just like going to her happy place. I was just like thinking like, what's my happy place? Like so many people are like the beach or the mountains, or like, I don't know. I don't know what people's happy places are, but I know my mind is not my friend when I have anxiety. My happy place, and the only thing that calmed me down in that moment, was imagining that I was home, because this is my safe space, and I was with Shane because he's my rock. In the MRI, I had this weighted, like heated blanket on me to keep me warm. So I just imagined that the blanket was Shane laying on me. And because I was listening to 80s music, which you cannot hear a dang song with all that noise. Like it is pointless for them to try and like put music on for you. No. But because I said 80s, I was like, okay, I'm sitting on the couch. Shane's like laying across my lap, and we're watching 80s movies, because I also love 80s movies. So I'm just like naming all the 80s movies that I would like to watch in my mind. And honestly, like that got me through the last like minutes that I had to go through. And then like I hear the clicking stop, and then the guy's voice comes over and he's like, okay, we're gonna take a break, and I'm gonna set you up with the contrast. He literally like puts an IV, and he's like, okay, we're just gonna have to do this for 7 minutes, which thankfully it was only 7 minutes. I go back in the machine, and he's like, all right, this is gonna be the loudest part. I was like, what? The loudest? How much louder can this get? I've literally had surgery, like cut you open surgery, while I was awake. And I would have preferred that than an MRI. So the Monday I get called from my doctor's office, and one of her MAs calls me and lets me know that my MRI was clean. Yay, I don't have a brain tumor. But they still don't know what's wrong with me. So that's like the frustrating part. So it's like now we're still back where we were, and I had like a traumatizing experience. I was able to call and get scheduled with the neurologist, which of course a specialty like that is not just going to have openings. So I have to wait till February to see my neurologist. Excuse me, to see the neurologist. The kicker is, when I went back to get my blood drawn, I got a call from my doctor about those results, and she said that she noticed a decrease in my white blood cell count and my hematocrit. And they weren't so low that she's like immediately concerned. She was gonna leave it up to me to either continue taking the medication and just like continually getting my blood drawn to make sure that they don't get any lower, or just get off the meds. And my thinking is, I've been on the meds for almost a month and I'm still having this twitch in my eye, and I'm still having a headache here and there. Like, what if the meds aren't even really doing anything? We wouldn't really know unless I got off of them. So she was like, I like that idea of observing. She's like, you can't just get off of them, like you have to wean off of it. So that was on Thursday that I had this conversation with her. So she's like, you have to go back to just taking one pill a night instead of two for a week, and then after that week's up, you can just get off of it. Tomorrow it will be a week. Tomorrow is as when I'm recording this, it's Thursday. I have had 3 headaches in this 1 week. I don't know how I'm still eating. I feel like it's been like an hour. But I was like, what the heck? Like, this is scary, because obviously, like, I don't want these headaches, but if I talk to my doctor and I'm like, hey, I'm getting more headaches, and she's like, we'll get back on the medication, but what if the medication is the reason why my hematocrit and white blood cell count is lower? Like, I don't know. She's like, it's not definitive that it was the medication that was causing it. It could be just like where you were at in your cycle. Maybe you're dehydrated or something like that. Like, there's many things, but one possibility could have been the medication, and that's why, like, I just wanted to play it safe. So I don't know like what I'm gonna do, if I'm gonna get back on the medication or not. It's scary not to have answers, and there's so many worse like medical things people are going through. I know that, especially with COVID happening right now. Like, I know there are so many worse things that are happening to people medically. That doesn't mean that what I'm going through is not scary. And it does, it scares me. Like, I'm freaking out a little bit. But if this specialist thinks that it's trigeminal neuralgia, then maybe I'll just go in and get that nerve block. I don't know if it's gonna help with the twitch. I don't know if I'm gonna have a twitch for the rest of my life. Yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys, because it's definitely causing some anxiety and some stress, and I don't know where this is going to take me, what the neurologist is going to say. I'm not sure, but it's a major part of my life right now. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to end this. Obviously, I'm friggin' stuffed to the max right now as I take another bite. I need to stop eating. Okay, one more. Oh, I just hope that doesn't hurt me later on tonight. Well, guys, thank you for sitting through this with me. You guys need to eat? Oh my gosh, okay. Let me know if you guys like mukbangs. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you think they're gross? Ew, I don't want to see you eat disgusting food. Let me know. Put it in the comments. If you do like it, give this video a thumbs up. Maybe I'll do another one in the future. Maybe I'll do one with Shane, who knows. And yeah, I post new videos every Wednesday and Friday, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
you.